In Luke 21, we've got a really interesting story. Jesus was people watching like we do sometimes, and he observed rich people putting money in a collection plate. And many times they would make a show out of that. They would have coins and they would make a rattling noise when they put it in. But then Jesus saw a poor woman giving the equivalent of 2 pennies. And Jesus told his disciples, that lady has given the most money today to God than anybody else because she gave nearly everything she had. These rich people were just giving some of the money they had, and they had a lot of money left. She gave it all. She was generous. Now, when I was a boy, we had a great grandmother who lived in an old farmhouse style home in Hazel, Kentucky. And the home was made out of sawmill planks. It had never been painted, and we called her Mama Grace. I remember sitting on the porch because in the summertime it was hot and she didn't have air conditioning. She didn't have a television. She did have a shotgun propped up in the corner by her bed, and her house had a certain smell, not bad, but old. It smelled of dust and chewing tobacco and mothballs. And I didn't know she was poor and didn't have much money. She would come to our house and spend the night occasionally, and she just fascinated us because she would tell us these fantastic stories about her life. She married at 14 years old. She never had a car, never drove a car. She'd had her house flooded by a blood river. She told us about a runaway horse and wagon she was on. She had never cut her hair, and she would take it down at night and comb it, brush it, and then put it back up. And it was way past her waist. And so my sister and I would take turns sleeping with her, or her sleeping with us, so she could tell us these stories. But at Christmas time, she would give us a quarter or a dollar, or sometimes some pennies, or some candy corn or circus peanuts candy. And they were always put in a little lunch bag. And we never got the whole bag of candy because she would buy a bag and then she split it up between her grandkids and her great-grandkids. And we felt kind of cheated. We thought she was stingy. We didn't know she was so poor. What we did know is that she loved us, and she always remembered us at Christmas and our birthdays. We figured out much later how really poor she was, and it was probably a big deal for her to give us a quarter or a dollar or some candy. Well, in this Bible lesson today, we see Jesus in the temple. He saw and heard these rich people dressed in their expensive, fancy clothes. They were dropping coins in the collection plate. Then he saw this poor widow putting 2 pennies. And that's when he said, she's given more than anybody else. How? Why? They were wondering. And Jesus explained that the rich people gave some money because they had a lot of money, but the poor widow gave nearly all she had. She had the biggest heart. She was the most generous. So it's not the size of the gift that matters to God. It's the heart of the giver that's important to God. So may the words of God find a place in our hearts and make us rich in every way.